This is my 22nd lecture on the chemistry of main group elements. In my 21st lecture, I started discussing on the chemistry of main group elements, and I had stopped while discussing the chemistry of main group oxides. Let me continue from where I had stopped. These metal oxides, that means the metal oxides of group 2 elements, are basic in nature. When they react with water, they give the corresponding hydroxides. Similarly, when you treat calcium hydroxide with hydrogen peroxide in aqueous medium, it forms calcium peroxide. Okay, this calcium oxide on treatment with water gives calcium hydroxide. If calcium hydroxide is treated with hydrogen peroxide in aqueous medium, it gives calcium peroxide. As I already mentioned, calcium oxide reacts with water to give calcium hydroxide. Okay. Similarly, if we take magnesium 2 plus ions and react with the hydroxide ions, leads to the formation of magnesium hydroxide. Okay. And of course, among all hydroxides of group 2 elements, barium hydroxide is the most stable and most soluble hydroxide. So now let me move on to halides of group 2 elements. Of course, when we talk about halides of group 2 elements, anhydrous beryllium halides are always covalent, whether we talk about fluorides, chlorides, bromides or iodides. All the fluorides except beryllium fluoride are insoluble in water. That means all the fluorides of group 2 elements except beryllium fluoride are insoluble in water, and rest of the halides of group 2 elements are all soluble. The question is, why fluorides are sparingly soluble? So, although solubility increases slightly more down the group, the radius of the cation increases from beryllium to barium. So, as a result, the cation coordination number also increases from 4 to 8. Okay. So, strontium fluoride and barium fluoride adopt fluoride structure. Fluoride is nothing but calcium fluoride. It has FCC, face-centered cubic structure. So, the remaining fluorides, that is strontium fluoride, if you consider, or barium fluoride, they adopt calcium fluoride structure. The other halides of group 2 form layer structures reflecting the increasing polarizability of the halide ions. And how to prepare these fluorides? Beryllium fluoride can be conveniently prepared from the thermal decomposition of ammonium tetrafluoroberylate, that is NH4 twice BeF4. Of course, this itself can be prepared starting from beryllium hydroxide plus ammonium hydrogen difluoride. Okay, this we saw in the extraction of beryllium from beryl. So, that means one can conveniently make beryllium tetrafluoride, the ammonium tetrafluoroberylate starting from beryllium hydroxide and its reaction with this compound shown here, and then the thermal decomposition of this one will give BeF2. Okay. And beryllium difluoride is a glossy solid that exists in several temperature dependent phases similar to SiO2, and it is soluble in water forming the hydrate. That means when you take BeF2 and add water, immediately it forms a complex having 4 water molecules in its coordination sphere, having a tetrahedral geometry. Okay. And of course, beryllium chloride can be made from the corresponding beryllium chloride can be made starting from beryllium oxide using carbon as a reducing agent. Beryllium oxide plus carbon, that is coal, as reducing agent, passing chlorine gas leads to the formation of okay. So, this is how one can conveniently prepare beryllium chloride. So, similarly beryllium chloride, beryllium bromide, beryllium iodide can also be prepared from the direct reaction of the elements at elevated temperature using the corresponding halogen dimers. The structure of solid BeCl2 is a polymeric chain very similar to beryllium hydride that already I showed you in one of my last lectures. Magnesium chloride adopts the cadmium chloride type layer structure in which the layers are arranged so that Cl minus ions are cubic, close packed. Both magnesium I2 and calcium I2, that is magnesium iodide and calcium iodide, adopt the closely related cadmium iodide structure in which the layers of iodide ions are hexagonal, close packed. Okay. So, I have shown here for your reference the cadmium chloride structure. You can see here cadmium chloride structure. That means here essentially metal ions are coordinated by 6 chloride ions, each metal ion. So, in this process all of them are sharing here, for example, all of them are acting as tri-bridging ligands, all halides are acting as tri-bridging ligands, and then the metal ions show octahedral geometry here. Okay. So, this is a typical cadmium chloride structure that is adopted by magnesium chloride as well, and the green ones represent halide or chloride, and the brown ones represent metal ions, divalent metal ions such as magnesium. Okay. The most important fluoride of the group 2 is calcium fluoride. It is also called fluorite. Okay. Its mineral form fluorite is the only large scale source of fluorine. In fact, hydrogen fluoride is prepared by the treatment of sulfuric acid on calcium fluoride or fluorospar. So, calcium fluoride on treatment with concentrated sulfuric acid leads to the formation of calcium sulfate plus hydrogen fluoride. Okay. So, this is how hydrogen fluoride is generated starting from calcium fluoride or fluorite. Okay. So, let us look into the reactions of halogens and the properties of halogens. So, in general, if I consider this as group 2 element, so a typical halogen where X is fluoride, chloride, bromide or iodide, okay, or MO plus carbon plus Cl2 gives MCl2 plus CO. Of course, in case of beryllium, the temperature required is about 600 to 800 Kelvin. Okay. And I have listed some of the halides here. You can see in this slide, beryllium forms linear structure in all the cases, okay, 2 coordinated, and whereas magnesium also linear, whereas calcium shows quasi-linear structure in case of all 4 halides, and same, whereas in case of strontium with fluoride it is a bent structure, whereas in case of chloride, bromide and iodide it shows quasi-linear structure. Similarly, barium shows bent structure with all halides except in case of iodine. In case of iodine it shows quasi-linear structure. And what is quasi-linear? The term quasi-linear refers to a species for which the calculated energy difference between linear and bent structure is less than 4 kilojoules per mole. The most bent of the dihalides is barium fluoride. Okay. Okay. It has a bond angle in the range of 110 to, so in case of barium, so what we are talking about is this one. This angle is in the range of 110 to 126 degree. Okay. Okay. The preference for bent structures for the heaviest metals combined with fluorine, chlorine or bromine has been explained in terms of inverse polarization and the participation of d atomic orbitals for calcium, strontium and barium. I do not know to what extent it is true, the incorporation or bringing in d orbitals to enhance its coordination number. It appears like it is hypervalency. However, since the energy of d orbitals is very high, it is not appropriate to consider the participation of d atomic orbitals. In fact, molecular orbital diagram will give you a clear picture about actually what is happening in this type of bonding. So, inverse polarization occurs when the metal ion is polarizable and is polarized by fluoride or chloride or to a lesser extent by bromide ions. The polarization is termed inverse to distinguish it from the polarization of a large polarizable anion by a cation. So, another convincing explanation about the bending or linear structure can also be given by looking into the relative size of the ions. For example, if we consider say barium, relatively large divalent ion, and if it prefers to have a bent structure with fluoride, something like this, it so happens that these two come very close to establish a bent structure. This angle will shrink to establish a covalent bond between them or ionic bond. So, they come very close to each other. In this process, what happens? These two positively charged ions will start repelling each other. As a result, what happens? This type of bent structure is destabilized. On the other hand, if we look into this kind of structure where they are linear, okay, so no such inconvenience is caused. Here, both the cations are kept conveniently away from each other. As a result, what happens? Most of the main group elements as well as transition elements, when they are combined with fluorine, they always have linear structure to minimize the inter-electron repulsion between the positively charged metal ions. That is true in case of we take beryllium fluoride or we consider aluminum fluoride. For example, aluminum chloride, if we consider, it has a bent structure something like this, whereas when we look into the aluminum fluoride, it is tetrameric structure. Of course, I can give more details when I go to the group 13 chemistry. I would elaborate more on these aspects then. So, I was telling this is the structure of calcium fluoride. It shows face-centered cubic structure. Okay. And strontium fluoride also has the same structure. And in case of beryllium, as I mentioned, it shows in solid state a one-dimensional polymeric structure. The structure is very similar to the structure I explained in case of beryllium hydride. Okay. And in the gas phase, it shows both monomerically with angle 180 and also this can also undergo dimerization to give a compound of this type. So, both are possible, whereas in solid state it shows exclusively one-dimensional chain-like structure here. Okay. And of course, here I already described the structure of this one using by using valence bond theory, using sp3 hybridization. if you consider sp3 hybridization beryllium center, we have 4 sp3 hybrid orbital with 2 sp3 hybrid orbital having 1 electron each and 2 sp3 hybrid orbitals having no electron. Essentially, these are disposed at tetrahedral angles and they make bonds with chloride, and now the chloride lone pair will interact with one of the empty sp3 orbital to establish a coordinate bond. This is how we have the linear structure that I have shown there. So, that means it is essentially a one-dimensional polymer. So, let us look into the reactions with other elements such as nitrogen. Magnesium burns in nitrogen to form greenish yellow compound having composition Mg3N2. So, that means it can be conveniently prepared by burning magnesium under nitrogen. Okay, which has been used as a catalyst for preparing cubic boron nitride. Calcium nitride reacts with hydrogen gas at 4000 degrees centigrade to produce a compound like this. So, calcium nitride also one can prepare directly combining calcium with nitrogen. So, this one reacts with hydrogen gas at 4000 degrees centigrade to form CaNH and CaH2 as well, calcium hydride. Okay. And beryllium nitride melts at 2200 degrees centigrade and is used as a refractory material. Beryllium carbide formally contains, essentially the moment we look into this one, we should be able to speculate that this contain C4 minus ion. Okay. So, that means this one readily reacts with water to give methane. Okay. The carbides of magnesium, calcium, strontium and barium have a different formula. They form preferably this kind of species, okay, and contain, and this indicates they contain C2 2 minus ion here, essentially an acetylide ion. This is nothing but acetylide ion. Okay. So, group 2 nitrates react with water to produce ammonia. Group 2 carbides react with water to produce either methane or ethane. So, all the elements form nitrates. That means, all the elements of group 2 elements form nitrates of composition M3N2, okay, and which readily react with water to form ammonia and the metal hydroxide, corresponding hydroxide will be formed. So, one can write a general equation for the reaction of metal nitride with water. Of course, it is in aqueous medium plus 2NH3. So, all metal nitrates of group 2 elements react with water to form the corresponding metal hydroxide plus ammonia is formed. Ammonia is liberated. The structure of beryllium carbide is similar to antifluoride structure that I have shown here, and the carbides of calcium, strontium and barium can be prepared simply by heating the beryllium oxide or carbonate with carbon in a furnace maintained at around 2000 degrees centigrade. For example, we take oxide and treat this one with carbon. Around approximately around 2000 degrees centigrade. Okay. One can also start from corresponding carbonates. Okay. So, as I mentioned, beryllium carbide is different from the carbides of rest of the main group 2 elements. So, beryllium carbide on hydrolysis or on reaction with water forms methane, okay. Whereas in case of other carbides such as calcium carbide, it also gives calcium hydroxide, but it gives acetylene instead of ethane. Okay. So, this is a difference. So, it forms beryllium carbide of this type, whereas calcium carbide of preferably in this composition. So, let us look into the carbonates and hydrogen carbonates of group 2 elements. Again, all the carbonates of group 2 elements are sparingly soluble in water with an exception of beryllium carbonate. The carbonates decomposes to oxide on heating. Okay. For example, if you take simply MCO3 on heating, they form MO plus CO2. Okay. The hydrogen carbonates are more soluble than the carbonates. The carbonates of other elements are all sparingly soluble and are decomposed to the oxide on heating, very similar. The group 2 carbonates have similar thermal stability to the group 1 carbonates, and these trends can be explained in terms of trends in lattice enthalpies. Okay. The powdered limestone is known as agricultural lime. Okay, is essentially used to neutralize acidic soil. How they do it? For example, you take calcium carbonate, gives okay. So, like this. So, essentially one can conveniently neutralize. Calcium carbonate is sparingly soluble in water, but its solubility is increased if CO2 is dissolved in the water as in rainwater. So, what would happen here is again, so calcium carbonate plus H2O plus CO2 liquid, yes, and this is solid. Okay. Okay. So, similarly, one can also conveniently make sulfates and nitrates of group 2 element. The most important sulfate is calcium sulfate, which occurs naturally as gypsum and alabaster. The permanent hardness, so called the hardness is not removed by boiling. That means, when you simply heat water and if you cannot remove the hardness by boiling, that is because of permanent hardness, it is essentially caused by magnesium and calcium sulfate present in water. So, calcium sulfate is the most important of the group 2 sulfates. It occurs naturally as gypsum. Gypsum is nothing but calcium sulfate dihydrate. I will be elaborating more about its utility and also how one can make plaster of Paris starting from gypsum and all those things. Essentially, gypsum is nothing but calcium sulfate dihydrate. This is called gypsum. When the dihydrate calcium sulfate is heated above 150 degree centigrade, it loses water to form hemihydrate. That means, it will be having only half equivalent of water per calcium sulfate molecule. That is known as plaster of Paris. That means, if you heat this one to about 150 degree centigrade, it forms hemihydrate. This is called plaster of Paris. Okay, so let me continue more on this sulfates and nitrates and the remaining chemistry of main group elements in my next lecture. Thank you very much.